Christine Duke, the Continuing Education Program Manager at Kendall College, and very excited to have kind of a little bit of a different taste talk for us today. I'm actually going to be talking about my specialty, and we are going to be discussing how to improve your food photography for social media. So I do actually teach 2 courses at Kendall College on social media and social media branding for culinary and hospitality students, and teach them a lot of different strategies on how to best make use of Instagram and other platforms in order to promote themselves. But the first thing to all of that is really having a great photo. And there are definitely tips and tricks that you all can make use of in order to shoot your either your own food creations, meals that you're having, your beverages that you're making, and a lot of these rules can also apply to so many different other photo opportunities as well. So the first thing I want to say when you are, I love you're getting the paper. The first thing I have to say is capturing images and capturing images does not necessarily have to be done with a fancy DSLR camera. Now, of course, using a fancy DSLR camera, especially if you're well versed on it and everything, is going to create some of the best images, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with taking pictures with your phone, especially these days. One of the big things in pushing the sales of phones and stuff is upgrading the cameras, making them have better dimension, better options on your cameras, so much more that they're doing. They're better than the digital point and shoot cameras that we had decades ago, and they just keep expanding on how great and how user-friendly they are. So whether you have an iPhone or an Android, you most likely have a very decent camera already in your pocket and always with you at all times. And one of the most important things about it is to really play with it and get to know it, because as the cameras keep changing and they keep adding more bells and whistles to them, you really, when you get a new phone, really play with it and see what they can do. Like on the iPhone, there is, on the iPhones 10s and 11s and such, there is the portrait mode. And that really acts a lot differently than there's the regular photos. So if you haven't tried that out, I recommend giving it a try, flipping it around between the different lighting settings that it has, trying it on contour, trying it on natural light. If you have an Android, I know a lot of them actually have a food filter situation going on with them, and I hear great things and have seen really great things taken with that option. So it's just a matter of having fun with it and really getting to know it. Now, if you have an older phone, of course, your pictures aren't going to be the same kind of quality than something that's newer. So see if it's time for you to upgrade your phone. I mean, you know, there's lots of deals all the time, and definitely having a newer phone is going to make it easier for you to get really amazing results. So the number one thing that you absolutely have before you take any kind of pictures at all is really great lighting. Lighting is key on everything. If you do not have good lighting, your photo can be a flop. So in all the different kinds of lighting that there are in the world, there is one that is absolutely monumental king. Any guesses on what that lighting would be?
Natural.
Yes. Sunlight. Sunlight is absolutely the best. Sunlight is so forgiving, especially for faces and things like that, if you want to take pictures of people as well. But there are some things that sunlight can sometimes cause an issue with. Shadows can be your biggest problem with sunlight. You want to be careful anytime you're taking any kinds of pictures that you're not getting the shadow of your hand and your phone and yourself in the image, unless that's actually adding value and interest into the image. There are times where it's totally appropriate. But anytime you can make use of sunlight as your main lighting, that's kind of what you want to do. But there are lots of things that you can go, because a lot of times we're eating meals in the evening, or we're cooking in the evening, or having our wine and beverages in the evening, and we don't have that advantage of the sunlight. So definitely look around the lighting at your house. Pay attention to what kind of color the lighting kind of emits. Now, old school tungsten lights, which people are really phasing out right now, really cast an orange hue on things. So it doesn't really make things look all that appealing or appetizing. Sunlight itself actually has kind of a blue color in it. So it gives things this kind of cool, nice, bright look. But if the lighting around your house doesn't really provide something that's good, it's kind of in an orange hue or anything like that, there are lots of different things that you can make use of in order to lighten something up, whether you're shooting a dish or you are shooting a bottle or a drink or something like that. One thing that you could actually invest in for yourself is a ring light. Now, this is a small little ring light that goes on your phone. Now, there are all different kinds of ring lights. These are like the smaller ones. And then I'm sitting in front of a giant one right now to help illuminate me while I talk to you. But you don't have to have a giant one. These little ones are really good, but they can only light for such an amount of depth of field. So if you're taking something like you were going to shoot me or something, this wouldn't help you out. It only works for a few, like about 4 feet or so, even less than that, and it really falls apart and you don't get the benefit of it. You can get these for around $10 to $15 on Amazon. They come where either you power them by batteries or you power them with USB. Some will have different levels of light on them. The thing, though, to be cautious of with a ring light is they are designed to clip on your phone and go around around your lenses. But some are not designed very well. Like this one, I know for certain is not designed well, where the light actually bounces back into the lenses and creates this weird white cast over everything, which you don't want. But there's a way to hack around that. You just move your light onto a different part of your phone. Now that light won't be bouncing back in, but I'm still getting it in the direction I want to go in order to use it. Plus, it doesn't necessarily have to be here. If you want to create a little bit of a shadow and a more interesting angle, you can put it somewhere else and have it aim down the food in another place. So this is actually something that's really great also when you go back out to dining into restaurants and stuff and you want to shoot something at your table. It's always dark in a restaurant. You can easily bust something like this out, not disturb everyone too much. You'll see it a little bit, of course, but then you can quick shoot your food and sneak it back in your purse. Another really great tool for adding in light, a flashlight. This is really great, especially if you want to get like a detail on something. Sometimes you need to use a friend or somebody else in order to get it so that you can shoot and be where you want and you can get the light to go where you want it. Like say you are shooting some ribs, but you want to get the underneath of the ribs where that arch is also a little bit brighter because it looks really dark and you're not seeing how beautiful the caramelization on the meat is and everything like that. Get a little pop of flashlight underneath that and it can brighten it up a little bit. Also, if you have a desk lamp, it's also an amazing thing to move around your house, put where you need, add a little bit more light into. So definitely when you're doing your lighting, you want to be very conscious, especially if you're shooting things straight down. Be very conscious of any shadows that you might be creating with your phone. That's like one of the first things you should look for when you're setting up your shot, because sometimes you're thinking so much about all the other elements, you overlook it, and then you go and you look back at the pictures you took and you're like, oh, I see my camera shadow in my hand and everything, and you're like bummed out. So then the other thing, if you're shooting food or drinks and you want to get that sunlight, let's say it's during the day, what is one of the best things to do with your plate of food or anything like that? Take it outside. So of course, I always tell my students or ask my students, what is the purpose of a plate? What is the main job of a plate?
To hold the food.
To hold the food, yes.
Right.
But to hold the food and to transport the food. Food does not have to stay on the counter, especially once you've put it on a plate. It can be taken anywhere. You can take it to your living room. You can take it to the backyard. You can take it up on the roof if you want to, if you can make it there. So there are so many places that you can get your food once you've put it on a plate or a cutting board or something like that, and then you can transport it somewhere else, possibly to get that king of all lights, daylight. So let's talk a little bit more about where we are going to have our food placed. Now, of course, people love to plate their things onto a plate. So you definitely have to look around at the plates that you have in your kitchen and that you have available to you. Sometimes you have that one-off weird plate and things like that. A lot of people have white plates, but maybe you have a fun shape or something. So you want to kind of think about, think with the chef brain on plating and think how you're going to be putting the items onto the plate, how you're going to work with the negative space. You don't necessarily want to see a plate that's overcrowded with food. You want people to have some negative space so that their eye gets a place to rest when they're looking in the image, and it lets you kind of enjoy the simplicity or the intricacies of the items of food. Now, if you're going to be shooting an item that's a little bit on the plainer side in color and things like that, you're going to want to not necessarily put it on a white plate. Even though this rectangle square white plate is really cool and can make things a little bit more interesting, if you put a piece of cheesecake on this, it can be really boring and get really monotone. Instead, you might want to opt for something a little bit more crazy. If you're going to be putting something on a really kind of busy plate, you want to make sure that the food item is something a little bit more along the simplicity lines as far as color and stuff. But you want to look around and see if there's other items that it would look good on. Of course, cutting boards are always great. Maybe you're laying out your ingredients or something and you want to lay it on baking paper, like you've got some beautiful brown baking paper or parchment paper. You want a nice clean white background because you want those ingredients to pop, because we're not always going to be shooting necessarily a completed dish. We might be shooting our mise en place. We might be shooting the elements of the dish and the ingredients instead. So you really want to look around at the different options you have in order to plate these things up on. And when you are actually plating things up, you also want to think again with that culinary chef brain, once you have it ready to shoot, is that dish actually dining room ready? Is it ready to be placed in front of someone and enjoyed? Some of the things you really need to think about with that are, did I wipe the plate? I cannot tell you how many times I have seen, I've had students who have taken images that are beautiful, except there's a drip of sauce on the plate and it looks sloppy. I know a chef wouldn't accept that leaving the dining room in that state. So you've got to make sure you're looking at it the same way. Think of it as you are the diner, especially if you aren't a culinary person, if you're not chef trained or anything like that. Take a look at your plate. If that was placed in front of you, is that the presentation that you want to see? If there's something sloppy on it, wipe it down. Even if you're going out to restaurants to enjoy food and you are served a plate and everything looks great, but maybe there's something a little sloppy on it, I many times have wiped my plates after I've gotten them before I've taken a picture of them if I'm going to be sharing about another restaurant. So really look for all those little details. Then also you want to think about the color and the colors that are working together with the items that are being displayed or shot. So if everything's very bland, and you're not going to shoot on a colorful plate, maybe you want everything to look kind of monochrome. You want to shoot that cheesecake and you want to shoot it on the white plate. Maybe you want to think about adding something with a pop of color, a little bit of garnish. Garnish is a really great way to create more interest, and especially if you're doing just one solo item, garnish is something that can make it a little bit more exciting. Whether it be an herb, whether it be a vegetable, whether it be a fruit or something like that, it's a really easy way to add in color. But you can also add in color by incorporating different things surrounding it. Maybe you want to add in a colorful utensil, or add in one of the items that you use in the creation of it, and it can even look like you're being active with it and have it partially open or something like that. Share your ice buckets, share the ingredients laid out in the completed drink, share the bottle of wine along with the wine, or even think about the background and tabletops that things are being shot on. You can easily add in color just in whatever countertop or background is the items are being laid upon. Just looking around your house, you can probably find a lot of things that can add a lot of variety, such as scarves. Or I myself have tons of artist papers. You can get artist papers from paper stores or other art supply stores that can provide lots of different options. You can get some glitter in there. Look at your personal tabletops. Look at the materials that you see around your house. Even things like a skirt could be really amazing. Here, this is just a pillow cover that was able to give me a really great pop of purple background for something I was shooting that was all black and white. So you've got to kind of like open your eyes up and look around your surroundings and kind of refamiliarize yourself and look at the things that you already have in your home with different eyes, because there is so much opportunity there. And things that you think of as like, oh, I see that every single day, it could be become something really interesting. Even a big fluffy pillow. So definitely people like to shoot a lot of things that they are cooking in process too. So people love to see what's already in a pot or in a pan. So again, you want to try and frame things out and crop things to create interest. You don't necessarily have to cook a dish or shoot a dish within an entire pan, unless you're pulling back a little bit and you're seeing more of stovetop and things that are happening. That definitely can create interest. But if part of your pan's a little bit dirty and stuff, even just getting a nice detail with the side of the pan, we can really see a lot going on and get the idea that you are in the cooking process while it's happening. Maybe you want to add in one of your exciting utensils that you use. You've got a beautiful wood piece or wood spoon or something like that that you make use of. It's really cool to kind of see some action kind of happening in a food shot as well. So, but again, pay attention to pans being clean, that the stove top is clean if you're shooting that. These are all details that, you know, if people see something dirty, they think it's a little bit sloppy, and you want to be cautious of those kind of items. Now, if you are shooting a completed meal and everything is plated on the table, there are many different ways that you can do it. You don't necessarily have to shoot the plate, because there are a lot of things that can create extra interest around it. Maybe you want to shoot it set on the tabletop, and there's things like napkins being added for more pops of color. There are things like your utensils. You can see the beverage that's being served with it and even talk about that in your caption on social media. So all of these things can add different elements to even create kind of like a little narrative or a storyline going on in the image. Maybe you get to see the shot of the food from one angle where you can see the other items in the meal in the background. You see a salad bowl, you see another side in the background or something like that. All of these things contribute to the value of the image. And you can even do some really great point of view shots. Now, a point of view shot is where you kind of place the viewer in your own personal set of eyes and your body. Maybe you're shooting the plate where your hand is on it, you're looking down. You can see some other things like your shoes, if you've got cute shoes, or you can see the environment you're in. Maybe you're, for me, this is kind of an often, maybe you're holding your plate and you're a little bit askew living room because someone's left Legos all over the floor or something like that. It gives you kind of a narrative of what's going on. You understand that I'm a busy mom and I'm cooking or serving a great meal, but things are still a little haphazard around the house. So there is so much more you can add to a dish by sharing a little bit more of who you are as well. You can share your cute outfit and still share your dish at the same time. So now let me ask you all, when you take a picture of something, let's say it's a fabulous dish or beverage or something like that, how many pictures do you tend to take of your item?
Not many.
1, 4.
2.
Okay, I'm gonna challenge you all, and then I'm gonna tell you that I'm gonna challenge you again. So the next time you go to shoot something, I'm gonna challenge you to shoot 10. But once you get comfortable with the 10, shoot 20. And when you're shooting, change your angle, change your position, change lighting, move around, get it different ways, because having more to choose from is going to create a better picture for yourself. There's happy accidents that happen that could be the great thing. You know, I recently had a time, I was shooting an image of myself where I was trying to pour a bottle of wine at the exact same time. I shot 20 images of it, and the best one was the one where I overshot the glass and actually captured myself pouring the wine, not in the glass, but outside of the glass. So you never know when you're going to get one of those crazy shots, but you're never going to know when something just hits just perfect. Even if you're shooting outside, there may be an insect or a butterfly or a bird or something that gets in your shot and makes it like that sweet little happy accident. That is just so great. But if you don't take more shots, you don't have more greatness to pick from.
My oldest daughter has very long fingers, so I use her a lot as a hand model. And we were outside, and she had to leave. And I said to my father-in-law, "Would you please come?" I was holding a glass, and it was like it had little rose flowers on it etched in, and he held that picture with his dried out, roughed, worked hands was the best picture.
Yeah.
And his hands looked horrible, but holding the little glass, it looked really cool. So I mean, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you've got to shoot pictures and you've got to switch it up. Change the angle you're at, move around, change the settings on your phone. Shoot it, if you have an iPhone, shoot it with a regular photo setting, and then go and try shooting it in the portrait setting. The portrait setting sometimes is like, hey, back up, you're too close, or, back up, you're too close, or still shoot with it, because sometimes those can be the most amazing things. It's going to give you a recommendation, but play with it. See how it's going to look different, because what's cool with the iPhone's portrait setting is it can blur out things that are further in the background and really focus in on the things that you are trying to highlight in your image. So it's going to act a lot differently than it is with a regular photo setting. So definitely play around. Don't just shoot, 2 straight photos. Try and shoot 10 next time, maybe 5 with the regular setting, 5 with the portrait setting. Flip around, try different things, move around. You'll see me if I'm like trying to shoot something, I'm down, I'm up, I'm around. Sometimes if I'm holding the plate, I'm moving it all over the place. I'm moving it over here, I'm moving it over there. I'm looking at what's in my background. And definitely use your eyes and pay attention and look at the entire frame. You really want to pay attention for those things that you don't necessarily want in your background. Maybe it's something as simple as an outlet. No one really wants to see an outlet in an image. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing part of the wall. It can be really distracting too, because your eyes will go right away to that outlet and you instantly know what it is and you instantly recognize it and you're like, ugh, because an outlet's not really the most sexy thing ever that would be in a photo. So especially if you're shooting like a baking shot or something like that, and maybe you are working with your mixer and everything, you want to try and avoid your mixer being right next to the outlet that's plugged into. Maybe move it to a prettier part of your wall if you have a beautiful black splash or something like that. Or if your wall isn't the most aesthetically pleasing behind it, maybe pop something behind there. That's great. You can slide, if you have one of those big, like colorful plastic cutting boards, slide that right in there. Boom, you've got a pop of color or something behind it, and you've really changed kind of the environment that it's in. Now I'm talking a little bit about backgrounds and paying attention to these other things. There's some other things that you kind of want to get out of your pictures and not make use of because they're not necessarily things that are very aesthetically pleasing. Like I mentioned, the outlets, but also if you're getting food, like a lot of us are getting takeout from restaurants right now, and we want to share about these restaurants that we're having great meals from and really highlight their food. The worst way to highlight it is in that styrofoam container. Oh, I can't stand seeing a styrofoam container. The only time I am fine with something being shot in a styrofoam container is if we're in normal conditions, we're at a street festival, and you see your beautiful food in the styrofoam container with the environment and the street festival going on. But none of us are doing that right now. So when you get a meal from a restaurant, replate it. That's also good mental health for you as well. If you're going to be enjoying a really, really nice meal from a restaurant, plate it up. Make yourself feel like you're in that nice environment. Don't eat it out of the styrofoam container. It's going to make you feel better when you sit down at a table and you have it on a nice plate. It's plated beautifully and you're eating it with a real knife and fork and not the plastic ones. Don't even get the plastic ones. Don't have them send it to you. Let's save the planet and kind of abandon that plastic. So, but also, I know a lot of people tend to cook their dishes sometimes in aluminum pans. Again, that's a disposable item. We kind of want to get away from seeing disposable items. They're not attractive. They're not good for the environment. They're not sustainable. Let's not see them. Instead, if you're making a huge lasagna within a pan such as that, cut it and remove it from the pan. Maybe get a shot of it coming out of the pan. Do it from more of the middle so you can crop out that recognizable aluminum perforate or pleated edges that we all know exactly what it is. Also got to be careful with things such as hotel pans and sheet pans. Not the cutest items. Stainless steel tables from kitchens that our students are used to working in. Instantly, I know that a student has shot something in one of their classes. I don't object to them shooting in their classes. I just object to it being something that they're working on right away and going click instead of moving it to a better location, finding a better background for it, laying down a sheet of parchment paper, putting it on that instead. There's so many different ways to make it a little bit better. Let's elevate the food to the environment it should really be around. Celebrate it. Make it sexy. Make it beautiful. Make it something that you want to sit down and eat. You don't want to make, there's also like a lot of plastic cutting boards that are around Kendall. We've had some that have been around for a little while and have a lot of knife grooves that are not the cleanest looking, have some gray marks on them, have gotten dirty from the stainless steel. We don't want to see that either. So really pay attention to those little things that get overlooked. Now, sometimes the sloppiness can actually be something beautiful. Like, again, I'm going to go back to ribs. If you've created a beautiful rack of ribs that's been barbecued and everything like that, sometimes those juices and the sauce dripping off of it and the mess that comes from cutting that can be one of the things to really celebrate in the image. But you want to make sure it's in the right environment. Either have it like out on a nice plate or a nice platter or on a really beautiful piece of like wood, so that we can really enjoy those differences in textures and stuff. Pay attention to textures too. You want a good balance of some smooth things and some rough things, and really get to see some of the differences between all of the different items that you are sharing in your image. All right, so the biggest tip I am going to give to all of you though, with going forward and shooting things, is to have fun. Because it really does come across when you're having fun and you're enjoying what you're shooting. The more you think about it, the more you stress about it, it can sometimes become apparent. So you really want to make sure that you're enjoying yourself when you're shooting the 20 pictures I've just challenged you to do on the one piece of cheesecake. All right? So does anyone have any questions or anything they've tried to shoot before that they've had challenges with, or anything else that they're curious about with taking pictures of food or beverages at all? Yes, Natalia.
Hello. I take not 20, I take like 50 from the
I love it.
each item. But the problem that I have later is to choose the best one.
That definitely, especially when you're shooting like 50, it takes some time. So like when I'm going through my huge amount of images that I've taken, so right when I finish, I go through and I make use of that favorite feature on my phone. I give a heart to all the ones I like, and then I go back. So then I will move all of those into another folder, or you can go and even just look, like if you have an iPhone and you've favorited pictures, you can go and look at your favorites. So then I've reduced it down once and I can go and look again. And I look for some of those things, like if there was a happy accident or something that popped in, look definitely at the lighting. And then you know what else is the really great thing with trying to find the one that you find best? Ask the people that are around you and ask their opinion, because so many times I'll be torn between like 2 or 3 images, and I'll go and I'll show it to my husband, be like, which one do you like? And then I'll ask why and get some of other people's feedback. So if you have people that you're around, or roommates or anything like that, those are great resources to make use of, because they're going to be looking at it with totally fresh eyes. They're not going to have any tie to the subject matter necessarily, because if it's something that you've cooked or you've prepared, you already have this kind of like connection with it, and you kind of have a way that you envision it being seen. And if it's not happening the exact way that you want it to, you may kind of cloud your own judgment. So there's nothing wrong with asking others for their opinions on the best photos.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, Chris.
So one of the things my daughter always tells me is when I post those things on my Instagram or Facebook, whatever, is I always use the same filter, like to keep it consistent. So is that something you recommend as well if you're trying to create something?
Yes, it is recommended that you kind of keep the same filter so that you kind of have this consistency, and that your images aren't flopping back and forth between a whole bunch of different looks. And if you're shooting, especially if you're putting together like a group of pictures that are like one whole meal or something, you definitely want to have that consistency throughout it. Now, I would recommend, if you are making use of filters and you're using the Instagram filters only, you start looking to branch out from that and go and hunt for some other apps to make use of other filters that have been created out there. There's lots of photo editing apps, and I highly recommend making use of a photo editing app and making use of the filters that are on a photo editing app instead of the Instagram ones, because a lot of people who are Instagram savvy can instantly look at a picture and go, Clarendon, this one, like they know right off the bat which one you're using, because they've been kind of overused. So you want to kind of like flip the script on people and make use of something different. Now with my personal feed, I do flip back and forth between some of the filters that I make use of, but they all kind of have a similar feeling. So all of my stuff is extremely bright and colorful. And so that's always what I'm kind of pushing for. And since in my feed, I flip flop back and forth, I'm in lifestyle, so I don't just shoot food and beverage. I shoot a lot with people and my personal environment and things like that. What's going to look really great on a pizza isn't necessarily going to look great on my makeup look. So I do have to kind of go back and forth, but I kind of know what's in my feed and what the consistent look is and everything, and try and make it have that same kind of feeling. So.
Duke, I got a question. So let's say you're trying to take a picture of like a glass or a bottle, like glass of wine or a bottle of wine, and you have that, and you have the light, but then you have the reflection.
Yes. So
or even on stainless too. So what would you recommend?
This is where you're going to want to move around when you're taking your picture, because moving is going to move where that glare is. And you're not always able to avoid the glare. So you've got to find the way that's going to work best for the shot. But you also have to look at what your lighting source is, because maybe it's moving the lighting source. Okay, so if you're using something like a ring light, of course, or like my big ring light, you're always going to see a round kind of highlight on something, and you'll know instantly that's your telltale sign that, oh, that person's wearing a ring light or using a ring light. So sometimes it's something that you can forgive, and sometimes it's too much. So you can, like I said, you can move around where you're shooting it. You can move around your lighting source if that's a possibility. Or if you have a friend who can help divert that bright light that's hitting on it, maybe you hold up something opaque over that light to kind of guide it around or something like that. And that's going to help kind of eliminate that one little hot spot in your image.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, of course. So another thing I am going to also recommend for all of you is to actually go, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys right now. Oh wait, I think I lost everything did I lose everything when I came out? No. I am going to recommend that you go look at some of the biggest food hashtags there are. By looking at things such as, which one do we got here? Food porn. There are over 230 million pictures that use this hashtag. So when you go and look at it, when you look on your computer on Instagram, the top 9 that you see are the top posts ever, or the top posts currently on this hashtag. So definitely you're going to see some of the most amazing and beautiful shots here. This is the stuff that's going to be captured by the most talented, using food stylists, using high-tech equipment, using DSLR. But there's great inspiration for you. You can get some great ideas. Now, right now we've got on these 4, we got a lot of ones that are just straight up and down, overhead shots and everything. But I'm loving this burger shot right here where the fries are out of focus in the background. We get this little bit of detail with the checkered tablecloth, just this like hint of it, and this knife within the burger adding an extra element of interest. So you can see so many good things, so many great ideas. Of course, I love having sauces on the side and things like that. Another great way to add in pops of color. Packaging, if you want to feature a brand or something like that, definitely pay attention to their packaging. It's so much, you know, whether it's a bright and colorful package, that might be something you want to use. But if it's something that's, like, let's say you've bought a bag of spinach, you don't want to feature a bag of spinach in the bag. You want to feature the spinach. So you've got to pay attention to the item, and is the bag adding things to it, or is it taking away from it? So food porn, of course, is highly popular. Food photography, here we've got some great baking things trending on here right now. And then you're always going to see something that maybe isn't along the the lines of food or things like that. That's because hashtags can be placed on anything. They don't have to necessarily be placed anywhere. So sometimes other things will pop up. But look at these prawns. These are beautiful. I love this pasta layout right here where you're sitting, you can see yourself sitting down to this whole meal with the glass of wine and the bottle and the cheese and all of that. This little lava cake right here with the cherries all around to give it more interest, a little bit more color. This is just hashtag food right here. You can see just different ways that people are arranging their things, even just like the fruits, how nice it is to see. You know, you don't want to shoot the outside of a kiwi. You don't want to shoot the outside of an avocado. If you do, you want to have one opened up next to it because all the beauty is in the inside. It's like a star fruit. Not the cutest thing when it's just sitting there on its own, but you can have one sitting there that's on its own, but you know you've got to have one sliced open to really appreciate the beauty and the shape, the organic shape of that fruit. So definitely go and check out these giant hashtags on Instagram to see some of the great things that our people are doing. Scroll through, take a look. Definitely look at the top things. If you're looking on your phone, when you go and look at a hashtag on Instagram, the first thing that you see, there's two pages, there's two tabs. The top page, the top tab will always be the top post. So those are the ones that are getting the most likes, comments, saves, etc. You flip to the second tab and that's going to show you the most recent. So you're going to see a lot of people who aren't necessarily the big heavy hitters and everything, but maybe that's a great thing for you. Maybe you want to see inspiration from the regular people who are shooting things. It's kind of cute to see what's happening. But what I'm also going to say to you now that I've told you to go and look at these, you can also go and hit follow on them. And then some of the really, really strong work that's going to be coming from those hashtags will start popping up within your feed when you go on Instagram. So you'll have them coming straight to you and you'll have that inspiration coming to you all the time. But I would not recommend using those hashtags for anything you're posting on social media. But that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother taste talk going into hashtags and things like that. If you guys are interested, we can continue on with some more of those discussions. So, anyone else have any questions at all? I hope you guys have gained some great ideas. I hope to see some more things from you all. Let me know if you all are on Instagram. Let me know what your handles are so I can follow you too. If you don't follow me on Instagram yet, I am Duke Exploratorium. I'm pretty easy to find. If you put Duke EX, I usually am the first account that pops up, and you'll see me. I'm upside down with some little feet in my face. So, and I really hope that you all enjoyed my taste talk with you. This was fun doing this. So excited to share some of my knowledge and my tips with everyone as well. And tomorrow will be Thirsty Thursday. So not sure what John's going to be making quite yet. John and I actually were both busy over the weekend putting together some TikToks to be shared at graduation on Saturday too, featuring some sparkling beverages. So excited for those to be shared on the weekend as well. And I think that is it for today, everyone.
Hey, Duke.
Yeah.
I emailed you the recipe for that drink that I was telling the ladies about.
Oh, so fantastic. Thank you. Like, you know, drink recipes, send them my way. Food recipes, I send that to my husband, but drink recipes, that's all me. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Great. You guys have a great afternoon. And go take 10 pictures, then take 20 pictures.
Thank you.
See y'all tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.